Thank you. All right, perfect. Hey, and welcome to the first session of Andamio Pioneers Cohort number 1. It's the 24th of February, 2026, and we're doing this meeting for the first time. I can think back to, I remember being there for the first meeting of Plutus Pioneers Cohort number 1, and how exciting it was to have Lars introducing us to all these concepts that a lot of us have been building on for the last few years. We're really excited about what we've built so far with Andamio, but this is just the very beginning of a story, as we'll start to see today. So I'm excited to jump right into it together. I need to manage. We have this meeting set up so people have to be approved to be let in. So forgive me if I get distracted by that little thing. But let's jump right in. I'm going to share a few resources with everybody to help us get started. And we are going to have a check-in round, but we're going to do it a few minutes after the start of the meeting today, as we just do a little housekeeping. So here is a screen share of a brand new Git repo that's new today. I'll drop this link into the chat. It's public and anybody can use this. And you won't find too much here yet, but there's a list of the dates that we will meet starting today on the 24th of February. And we're going to go for 10 sessions until the end of April. So we'll close out this cohort on April 28th. Like everything you see today, all of this is a work in progress. And we'll see at the end of this session the way we hope to collaborate on building up these resources together. For now, one of the first things you'll see, well, there's a link to this meeting, just in case you ever need it. But then the first thing you'll see here is today's agenda. Just a few items to cover. I'm doing this part right here, welcoming you. And then we're going to jump to introductions. We're going to take a look at a course that's on Andamio V2, and that's going to guide us through this experience together. We're going to spend most of today's meeting taking a look at our new audit report for the first time. Just do an interactive look at what's there and use this as a chance to share questions with each other. At the end of this session, I'll share how to give feedback. This is one of the most important things to keep this program running well, is to have rich feedback loops for all of us to express whether we're getting what we want out of this program and how to make it better. And then we will pick it up next week, same time, same place. Any questions about the agenda before we jump in? Okay. So we're going to do a check-in round, but let's have a little fun logging some information. So I don't know if you've used this before, but if you could, in a web browser window, just go to menti.com, MENTI.com. When you get there, you will be prompted for a code. And this is the code, 59607261. And once you do, you'll be able to anonymously respond to this question right here. What are you doing here? Why are you participating in Andamio Pioneers program? Tell us maybe what you hope to get out of it, why you're showing up today, or anything else you want everybody else to know. Take a few minutes to do this. If you get stuck or can't access it, just let me know and we'll go from there. But take a few minutes, we'll see what shows up on the screen, and then we'll do a check-in round.
Can you say the code again?
Yep, it's 59607261.
Thanks.
take another moment to finish up. And you can keep things coming. But I wanted to just do a little experiment here, collecting some of our thoughts today before we even hear from each other's voices. And we're going to keep doing this throughout this program, finding ways to create written feedback that then we can act on together. So I appreciate you doing this experiment with me. A little Lomo. Thanks. Yeah, so you can refer to yours if you want to. You can pretend that you wrote one of these, even if you didn't, but this just gives us a little fodder for a conversation. We're going to do what's called a check-in round. I think most people here are familiar with this, but the idea is you just get to talk about how you're showing up today, how you feeling. You can tell us something you've been working on today or recently, or if you'd rather just tell us how you slept last night and what you had for breakfast, that's fine too. The way it works is I'm going to pass it to Nelson to start us off, and then Nelson's going to pass it to somebody else until we've all had a chance just to check in and say how we're showing up. Nelson, how you doing?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, so really excited about this first session of Andamio Pioneers. Yeah, I'm just here to figure out and learn as much as anybody on what we can use Andamio for. So yeah, I think it can be used in a lot of different use cases. So it would be really nice to get people's idea and build together, right? And yeah, like just to hang out with cool folks. Yeah, that's one of the reasons too. So, but yeah, thanks for having me. I'll pass it to Lewis.
Thank you, Nelson. I'm really excited. I have my pen and paper ready to take down quick notes just in case. Also, I believe that I may have a use case for Andamio, so it's great to know like how things work for it to move on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's my checkout. I'll pass it to Newman. Check it.
Hey.
Check in. Yeah.
Can you? Hey, thanks, Lewis. Can you hear me? Oh yeah. I'm doing great. I really do love like the community, and I feel like Andamio is a innovative, a creative solution to some problems that I see, and so I'm excited, and I definitely have been having some breakthrough in the whole like Cardano building and development. I've been chasing Harsha around forever, but I feel like I'm coming up on par. I'm just a year late. I wish I'd known, but I know what I figured out this weekend last year for Andamio, looking at Andrew and Harsha, Emmanuel. With that, I'll pass it to Andrew.
Thanks, Newman. Hey, everyone. First day of spring here. Been nice and sunny. Went for a little walk before. What have I been working on today? I've been helping. I've been interested in experimenting and moving away from Next.js and using V as a front end wrapper and using a Go server to go with it, which is a really nice sort of implementation. That might be something, a good use of Andamio APIs and a way to build it. So I'm interested to see how maybe that could be a solution, a way of building on top of it. Yeah, that's good. And I'll pass to Sebastian.
Hi, everybody. Because I have a long story attending these kind of experiences, like coding sessions and collaboration sessions around collaboration, right? And I know firsthand how powerful can be these kind of interactions, right? So new things emerge. New things emerge from these kind of experiences, right? In this case, Andamio is able to receive different kinds of new ways to do things in terms of bringing people to collaborate and contribute to projects and all that stuff. I think that's one of the what attracts me is how we can co-create this idea of technology and take it to new states, new places. Yeah, thanks a lot. Pass it to Harsha.
I'm doing good. I'm also excited about what can be built with the Andamio APIs, and I'm waiting to get my hands on them. So, can quickly build something and maybe solve like a real problem, or not, at least try to solve a real problem. So, yeah. And I'll pass it to Nori.
Thanks, Harsha. Glad to be here as well. And I put up the one where it says William Gibson said in one of his books, "The street finds its own uses for things." And so just Newman, I'm super excited to see how you use it, what ideas you have, and super excited to see how other people use this thing. We've changed from being just a pure platform to being a protocol with APIs and all that. And so now the sky's the limit. You can use what you want and how you want it. And I'm also super excited to see how we can move beyond the project and course local states and see new local states happening based on people's specific needs. And when we get to that point, it's going to get super exciting because then we have a constellation of local things contributing all this activity to the credentialing infrastructure. And yeah, I'm super excited to see what evolves there because we can't predict what that is going to be today. And yeah, so here to help support all of that onboarding and learning and building the community around that. I'll pass it to Steve. And if Steve's not here, I'll pass it to Tebo.
No, I'm
Oh, there you
sorry.
are. Oh, go ahead.
I'm not used to Google Meet. I just, I've known y'all for years. I love you. I'm excited for you at this stage. I'm currently working a decidedly non-technical job, and there are a couple of conflicts with personnel, and I think about credentialing. I think about how do you prove somebody's doing a good job or a bad job in this kind of real world situation. And so when I saw the Pioneer thing happening today, I thought, well, I'll just sit in. I get it, in a technical environment such as y'all are living in and building, but I live in the hope that what you do will lay the foundation for companies that aren't writing code, right? Just people doing work out there, like what I'm doing right now. And I think it's, for me, the whole point of blockchain was to be able to verify your value in society, technically, but not necessarily that society is all technical, right? Some people are just out here living. And so I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad y'all do this stuff, and I appreciate you.
How about Tevo?
Yeah. Well, why I'm joining this is like grounded that I saw a notice message. I know it's open space, and when I think of Andamio and Gimbal Labs, to me it's like education infrastructure. Like always been, but I never had the time maybe always attend. But every now and then when I know I join and I can get something out of it. And with recent, like, yeah, I also experimenting like application development now. I approved myself. I can now be a full stack developer. I still haven't run into issues. I'm just solving problems one step at a time. And when I'm thinking of like onboarding and realizing how the application should think of, I'm also thinking of this PBL structures. Okay, how do I onboard people into it? How do I give them the grasp of what the tool is meant for, and then specializing, making the configurations. And I feel like the Andamio Pioneers is also doing that as like now evolving in more tooling. I'm sure I've seen joined some of the garages to see how this like is evolving so fast. And I think the collaboration aspect is very powerful that can just keep us in the grounded in the tools we have, them connect more and more. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. And yeah, basically I'm here to make sure that I'm not too far.
That's pretty exciting. Are we missing Roberto?
Hey guys, at the risk of not being humble, I'm here because I think we built something really special. When I went to university, we learned Austrian School of Economics, economic theory, and while I disagree with a lot, one of the things that really resonated me is the concept of a sandbox, a set of rules within which everyone that participates knows what to expect, what they can do and what they can't do. And I really, that kind of seems to me a little bit of what we've done here. I think everyone is aware that credentialing is a problem. It just has a different flavor and shape depending on where you are, what problem you're trying to solve. So I think the fact that we made it flexible enough and accessible enough through an API so that the community themselves can find a solution to their problems, not dictated by what we think they are or what we think the solution is, but simply providing this set of rules that they can use. The fact that these credentials can be used interoperably, we're not creating walled gardens, we're just creating this network, is really, really exciting to me. But the part that's most exciting is what others will build on top of it. That's where it gets really, really interesting, is how people think about this problem and how they approach solutions to problems about governance, coordination, project management, treasury management, learning management, all these kinds of things. It'll be really exciting to see solutions come like from applications and everything built on top of this. So yeah, I think that's everyone. Pass it to you, James.
Thanks. Did we get Adrian?
No, I had a connection issue.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm curious what other people think, how they want to use it, and how Andamio protocol can evolve to support everyone's use case.
Let's go. And hey, Ahmed, welcome. I know we haven't met yet, but glad you're here. And one of the things we do at the start of these meetings is just give each other a chance to say hello. So how are you showing up today?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. I just thought to just drop by and see how everything is being run. It's actually my first time here.
Thanks for joining us today. And thanks everybody for the check-in round. It's exciting. I haven't used this tool, but of course, look at this. Even Mentimeter has a little AI button that groups things apparently. So it looks like we've got a lot of interest in the tech, some interest in community engagement and learning opportunities, and an uncategorized one to not accept the status quo and build something that fits. Let's go open web. All right. So this is a great place for us to start. I'm going to return to our agenda, which is in the shared GitHub repo. I'll drop this link in the chat again for anybody who needs it. And what I'd like to do now is take a look at Andamio itself, which is where we have a course. So there's basically two tools we're going to use all the way through this Pioneers cohort. One of them is this Git repo right here, and the other is Andamio. So here's the landing page. I think I just have to switch to here. That works. So this is the landing page of Andamio V2. It might change in the weeks to come, but we've really been working on the infrastructure underneath this. And so we have a little starting point right here. But what I want you to know is that these little, line drawings, these little icons right here, they tell one story of how Andamio can be used. One thing you can do with it is complete a course, earn a credential, and join a project. And that's really at the core of the current application, and we're going to use it for that. But the big idea here is by the end of this program, there might be other pictures that we could draw of how to use Andamio. So keep this in mind. And we're going to come back to this topic a couple of weeks from now, thinking about, okay, well, if this is one flow, what are some other ones? What are some other ways I could onboard to collaborating with other people? Now, there's a lot you can do once you log in, but if you just want to browse, use the browse button. And when you do, even without signing in, you can see our Andamio Pioneers course. It currently has 2 modules published, and we'll talk a lot about what these are in the weeks to come. If you're already familiar with this, that's great. You know that each module has a set of learning targets, and each one of these is associated with a unique on-chain credential. We're just going to focus on the first module today, but you have a little preview of what's coming up next week. Today, we're asking the question, what is Andamio? Next Tuesday, we'll start to ask, what can I do with it? If I click into this module, I can see the 3 learning targets, and I can see that some of them have lessons. This one doesn't. This was just a live activity, and we just did it. Thanks for sharing via Mentimeter and via the check-in round, what brought you here today. Sometimes a learning target doesn't need a lesson. Other times it does. Maybe this one right here. So the next thing I want to look at is accessing the Andamio audit report in the Andamio Pioneers GitHub repo. If I click Open Lesson, I can see some short lesson content. It's possible to write a very long lesson if you need to. This one didn't need to be that long, right? Just a little overview of what I hope I've already shared. This course is going to include a GitHub repo where you'll be able to find the meeting agenda. As we move along, we'll start adding code examples and AI context to that repo. And just like the course you're looking at on my screen, that repo is a work in progress that we're going to build up together as we work through. Here, once again, is the link. And the first thing I'd like to do together as a deep dive is to take a look at our brand new audit report. So back to the Git repo. If I head to the home screen, I can find the audit report right here. It's a PDF. It can be downloaded, but we can also just review it right here on the screen. But actually, that makes it kind of hard to read. So actually, I am going to open up. Let's do it this way. Download. That looks a little easier to read. All right. So back in Q3 of 2025, we started working with TXpipe on an audit of the on-chain Andamio Codebase. And the result of that work is this audit report right here. You can see what it covers, a summary of the system, a detailed specification and a look at some of the transactions, and a review of what was found over the course of the audit and how we fixed it. Just want to give Adrian a shout out for really leading this work, addressing these concerns one by one, updating things as we went along. And we can look at some of the implications of each of these findings, maybe not today, but in the weeks to come. But it's really exciting to have a formal description of what Andamio is on chain. A lot of us have been talking about it for a long time, trying to explain it in one way or another. I know that one of my goals right now is to put a little bit of distance between the idea of Andamio and a pure learning management system, because it's not really that. And this document gives us some language for talking about that we didn't write, that some technical experts did. So I just wanted to take a moment to go through this together. And as we do, any clarifying questions you have, anything you're not sure about or that you find particularly interesting, please jump in by interrupting me or with a hand raise. And let's just take a look. So what did the TXpipe team say about Andamio? This report provides the thorough overview of the Andamio protocol, which allows users to create and earn credentials in a decentralized and verifiable manner. The audit process revealed potential vulnerabilities related mostly to safeguarding our index token and the integrity of contract datums. These vulnerabilities have been resolved. The audit is conducted without warranties or guarantees of the quality or security of the code, right? So we have this review. It's good as far as it goes, but there's probably some more testing we want to do. And as we start to scale this system, we're going to want more third-party audits, right? We're going to want as much attention as possible on this, and we can be creative about how we accomplish this, right? This report only covers what they were able to identify, and maybe it doesn't cover everything. So let's figure that out together too. Overview. The Andamio protocol helps the user in creating and tracking credentials, allowing everyone to define the requirements to issue and use those credentials. This project consists of two sets of validators, an access token validator and what we call Plumline. Now, this report doesn't cover everything. And Nori already mentioned this concept of local states. This is something we're going to cover in the third module in this program, the idea of a local state. But for now, as we start to create that idea and build up a mental model around it, what you need to know is that there's certain global validators that help all of Andamio run. And then there's the opportunity to add new smart contracts to the system. Examples of such local smart contracts, or we call them local state systems, is our course protocol and our project protocol. But these are not the only kinds of local states that could be built on Andamio. So knowing that we're staying global for now, the access token, this was written in Plinth, aka the original version of Plutus. It's a set of validators that allows decentralized minting of access tokens with unique token names. It's important that any access token minted on Andamio has a unique global identifier. It doesn't have to be somebody's name. It could be a string of nonsense or a hash of something else. What's important is that that name is unique. And we handle that with a set of index UTXOs that serves as a linked list that only allows non-existing names to be added. Another validator, and this is really at the heart of Andamio, is called Plumline. These were written more recently in Aiken, and they allow what we call global state tracking, right? The collection of credentials for all of the local states, for which a given user or access token holder is enrolled. Any questions so far? Just check out with what you thought you knew about the system. Right, so what did the TXpipe team do? They took a look at the validators, they assessed the vulnerabilities and evaluated potential risks. We had a months-long back and forth about how to address each vulnerability. It was an exciting process to see progress on. Adrian, what would you share about that experience?
Yeah, it was quite an interesting journey, especially seeing someone else figuring out how everything fits together.
And really, thank you for running that. I think they're calling you efficient and timely. So let's jump into the fun stuff. Okay, so the spec. Okay, so if you're familiar with Cardano development, you know that Cardano is a UTXO-based blockchain. And when we talk about a validator, one of the things a validator can do is define the rules for how a given UTXO can be unlocked and spent. One of the reasons to unlock and spend a UTXO is to send ADA to somebody else, or to send native assets or NFTs to somebody else. But that's not the only reason. In this system, the reason we unlock and spend a given UTXO is that we want to update the data associated with it. This is called datum, right? And any validator can validate against the incoming datum that's being spent or the new datum that's being created, or both. And so that's the spec we have right here. You can see one of the types of UTXOs in the system. We call it the index script UTXO. This is a single, this one's not spendable, right, Adrian?
That is then spendable. That can be updated. You can spend it, but you have to relock it.
Okay.
So it's a bit like yeah, it just provides some data and reference script.
Then this is one that is managed by us just to have the system up and running, any of these script UTXOs.
Yeah, so you need to have an NFT to manage that. And currently that's held by us, yes.
Yep. And the reason it's an NFT and not just somebody's pub key hash is one of our goals for the future is for that NFT to be locked in a governance smart contract, or at least a broader multi-sig, because to unlock and then relock this UTXO is a way of changing Andamio's parameters. Okay, we have a bunch of other script UTXOs that work the same way. And this is part of our forward-looking strategy to think about how managing this set of UTXOs that allows Andamio to exist can be governed by a group of participants. Index UTXOs allow us to assess the uniqueness of each access token alias, right? So the datum right here, remind me, it's the current one and the next one, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so if I mint an access token with the name James, and then alphabetically the one that comes after James is Jane, my datum might say James and then Jane. Right, and then if somebody wants to fit a name in between those alphabetically, they would unlock Jane's UTXO, change or unlock mine, change the pointer to Jane, right, and replace it with their own access token alias, right? And this way we ensure that each one is verifiably unique.
Clever.
Okay. We have treasury UTXOs. There can be 0 or more. And this is just a place where we collect fees. So the way we're hoping to sustain the Andamio protocol into the future is by having a few targeted protocol fees. One of those fees is the fee for minting an access token. And if you've ever minted one, you know that the approximate cost is about 8 ADA. 5 ADA of that is a parameter that we have set as income for Andamio. So every time somebody joins up in the network, our team gets 5 ADA to, and this is, I should step back and say that we are understanding that we have a protocol that we hope to be a public good, and we have a business that we're trying to build on top of it. These protocol service fees are for that public network. And in a future where that protocol stands up on its own, these fees would hopefully support something like an Andamio Catalyst program, for example, or any whatever kind of community funding mechanisms we can come up with. Okay. So we can set a fee that goes to this treasury. And then we can also set as parameters some different service fees that happen on chain when different assets are minted. These are all, it starts to get a little bit more interesting as we move down this list, right? These are kind of like just the necessities that you must have to run the protocol, okay? But this is where it starts to get interesting. So for every access token that is minted, right, and we talked about the role this index UTXO plays, a new global state UTXO is also created. You might be familiar with Cardano Improvement Proposal 68, which gave us a way to create token pairs, right? And if you're familiar with it, one of the things it suggests is that you can lock one token in a smart contract, and a user can hold a matching token in their wallet. And the way you distinguish between the one that's in the smart contract and the one that's in the user's wallet is by putting a 3-digit prefix on each one. The one in my wallet might have the number 222 at the beginning of it, and the one at the smart contract address might have the number 100 in front of it. And on Andamio V1, that's exactly how it worked. But one of the outcomes of this audit was the TXpipe team correctly pointed out that we're not exactly following CIP-68, because that CIP was designed for NFT metadata, right? Being able to update the image associated with an NFT or whatever metadata. This has lots of applications in gaming, but we're not really using it that way. And we certainly were not following the datum structure that CIP-68 suggests. So we did away with the 222 and 100 prefixes. And if you look in your wallet after minting an Andamio V2 access token, you'll see that the 222 prefix is no longer there. We've replaced the 222 with a U and the 100 with a G. More on that. Okay. Yes, Steve.
So I'm curious, there's a couple of protocols being built where you can you take your ADA and then you get 2 tokens for the ADA. You get the ADA token, the token that represents the pure ADA, and then you get a token that represents the yield. Are I'm wondering, are they doing a pure CIP-68 thing here, or are they doing something, a unique variation in the way that you just described Andamio is doing? Do you have any idea?
I would have to look at it specifically, but it sounds like it's a unique structure, right? So CIP-68, if it's applied correctly, is really just about giving people the ability to update the metadata on their NFTs programmatically, right? But if I have a yield token,
That was more about content creation, right? The NFT thing?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but in any case, right, we have to be more precise applying these SIPs, and that's why you'll no longer see the 100, you'll see the G here. Now, this G, it stands for global, where the U token that's in your wallet stands for user, right? What's important about this token is that it's associated with what we call global state datum. And we're going to look at this in a transaction in just a minute. But the idea here is the token in my wallet, I could send it anywhere. It's not locked in a validator. So, right, the only rule about whether or not I can send my access token to somebody else is whether or not I'm signing the transaction. That's not sufficient to actually write a validator, right? If I want to have a smart contract that sets the rules for how datum can be updated, I need another token locked in a validator and not in my wallet to live with that datum. And that's what this global state is doing. I have a U James token in my wallet. And then at the global state validator address, there's a G, a G James token. Harsha, I don't know what this does for how you're going to name your token, if you're going to be like G0 or GG0 or what. But we have this ability now to validate and update datum as we go. Okay, now there's a key part here, right? There's some parameters, and we're going to see these when we look at a transaction, okay? But this high-level story is one we're going to revisit again and again once you start to see how credentials are represented in this global state datum. But this is the start of that story, okay? Now, if I can collect credentials in my global state datum, where do they come from in the first place? The answer to that is in the local state registration, okay? When we talk about a local state, we have two levels that we have to address. One is the underlying structure of the local state itself. So far, two such structures exist. I named them earlier, course and project. Right now, I could build a course local state or a project local state. That list is going to grow over time. But then the second level from there is once the template for a course exists, or the template for a project exists, or a template for whatever local state you might build exists, it can be instantiated many, many times, right? Course is a template, but many unique courses can exist. Project is a template, but many unique projects can exist. You might build a new template from which many unique instances of your local state template exist. And this is the key right here, okay? We have the ability for anyone to register a local state that can then be created as a source of credentials on the Andamio protocol. Why would we want to do this? Well, we don't know all the answers to what serves as a sufficient credential for anybody who might come along. We have our initial version of things, We say that a course credential, right, a credential that you learned something, is a set of learning targets. We say that oops, somebody's here. We say that a project credential is a record of how much you've contributed to a given project. But there's a lot of other ways you could vet somebody. There's a lot of other things you could issue a credential for, and that's where the creativity is going to start to come in, okay? And this is the system that makes it possible. Under the hood, several different scripts are running. Not going to read to you through all of these, but you can review this on your own. I think where this gets really interesting is when we start to look at some transactions. And we don't have to go deep into all of these. But look at that lovely transaction diagram. Let's take a step back and just look at this for a minute. Okay. This is the access token minting transaction, right? And it has 3 inputs, a whole bunch of outputs. Let's take a look, okay? So to mint an access token, there's 3 UTXOs that are going to be unlocked and spent. One of them is from the user, okay? They have to pay their fee, capital V. Right now that's set to 5 ADA, okay? There's the index UTXO that we talked about a moment ago, where we have the name of the current access token that's being minted and the next one alphabetically in the list, right? We're going to have to spend the UTXO of the name before us, right? So if my name is Bob and I want to mint my Bob token, I might have to spend, what's a name that would alphabetically come right before Bob? Bill?
Alice.
Alice? That's a good one. I guess that's the classic, right? I might have to spend the Alice one. Okay, so that's that one. This one, and I misspoke a moment ago, this one's not actually spent. This is just a referenced UTXO. Right. So a couple of hard forks ago, we got the ability to just look at a UTXO without spending it every time. That was a really good upgrade. And that's what you see right here. The index script UTXO is included on the transaction, but in a read-only way. Right. It's not actually spent. Yeah, Newman.
I think that's what that dotted line means.
Yeah, too.
Yeah. I've been Harsha and I've been working with these actually since back in the Asteria days with the TXpipe. This is if you don't do anything with TXpipe, you're going to see this sort of pattern language of a visual of a transaction. And I noticed that. I was like, I wonder what that dotted line means. That's new to me. And that's exactly what that means. It's a reference script, meaning that it's an input, but it's not consumed. It's just reference script.
Reference input. Yeah. Okay, so when this transaction happens, 3 tokens are going to be minted. There's the U token that goes to my wallet. There's the G token that's locked in a validator and has that global state. And then we only need 1 more index token per access token holder, right? So we spend 1 of these, and then we insert a new UTXO there. So if I had the Alice's UTXO with Alice, Bob, right? And my name was, in this case, Bill, let's say, in between those 2 alphabetically, we would have, now the previous one would have to go from Alice to Bill, and the new one would have to go from Bill to Bob. So that requires 1 new index UTXO to be added. And you'll see right here, there's 2 outputs, 1 index UTXO input, 2 outputs. So here's Alice, Bob. This one has Alice, Bill, the new one. And then this one has Bill, Bob. And just like that, we've added securely a name to the list of access token holders. And once again, just to reiterate, we expect that a lot of people are not going to want to put their name on chain, right? So it's very likely that in the systems that are still to be built, we might have just a string of gibberish or a hash of something as this access token name. But either way, the system works the same way, right? Insert the next one alphabetically. Any questions there? We have a new global state UTXO that didn't exist before. We have a new UTXO just going to the user's wallet with their brand new token. We have a fee output. This is how the Andamio protocol earns its income of 5 ADA. And then, oh yeah, and then just the change. This would be the change output back to the user. Okay. Now, the only thing I glossed over is this bit right here, because I'm not really good at explaining how the zero withdrawal trick works. Is it okay if I punt that one to you, Adrian? What's the best way to explain zero withdrawal?
Yeah, so the idea behind zero withdrawal in the index script is that in future, if the protocol parameters change, it may not be required that you log 1.2 ADA with a token. Instead, 0.9 ADA would be sufficient. And zero withdrawal is just to unlock the ADA that are which are too much, so that you could unlock the 0.3 ADA. And you could unlock more than one UTXO at a time.
So this reference, having this here allows us to evolve the protocol over time. And then generally speaking, right, you might be aware that if we're talking about validators, there's many different kinds of validators. There's the spending validator, which is the main one we've been focused on here. But also in this transaction, there are minting validators that set rules about when a token can be minted. Another type of validator is the withdrawal validator, the rewards, right? You can set rules for when somebody should be able to unlock. And early on in the days of smart contract development, maybe this was Phil. I don't know who invented this. Let's say it was Phil. But somebody figured out, well, you could use a rewards validator to collect 0 rewards, but actually have some arbitrary logic in there to validate against. And so anytime you see one of these withdraws right here, that's often what it's going to be pointing to, our ability to validate against some other information. In our case, we often use this to check against protocol parameters, okay? And then to make sure that a transaction is working the way it should. What do you think? Any questions about this particular transaction right here? All right, so that's access token minting. I'm gonna skip over this one a minute just because I really want to make sure we have time to look at this one. Okay. So once a local state exists, and once again, right, a local state is the specific system that somebody's participating in, a course system, a project, or some local state that might come later. What any access token holder has the ability to do is join or enroll in a system, okay? And so, see you soon, Tavo. This is kind of a fundamental blueprint for a very important transaction on Andamio, which is the one where the access token holder joins a course, joins a project, joins some future local state. Okay. Now you have to have your, there it is, your U token. That's a prerequisite, right? There has to exist a reference to this local state. Here we go, once again, a reference script, right? Does the course Andamio Pioneers exist on chain, right? Does the project Sustain and Maintain Gimbal Labs exist on chain? We check against that right here. Then we unlock the G token that matches the name of the U token, and we're going to do something to it, right? Before I enroll in a course, I have a certain set of info about all the local states I'm participating in. After I enroll, that global state datum is updated. And it looks the same right here, but it's this bit right here, this list of infos. Did I say this down here? Yeah, here's infos, right? This note. We'll look closer at that in just a moment, right? I unlock this, I enroll, and now the global state says, yeah, you're enrolled. You're a part of that project. You're a member of that course, okay? And then we also create a temporary token for anybody to participate now that they're part of that local state. So if you've played with Andamio before, you might know that when you join a course, it costs between 2 and 3 ADA. But that when you leave that course by claiming the credential, you get some of that deposit back. That's because there had to be a minimum UTXO to be associated with this local state datum that's tracking your progress through that local state. Is that making sense? Harsha, what do you think?
So I have a small question. So local state always exists inside of the global state, right? Or can a local state exist without being registered on the global state?
So you could use, let's say, our project logic, right? To allow somebody who holds any NFT to commit to a task and to earn funds from a treasury for that task. That's an example of some validation logic that could be completely isolated from this system. Okay. But if we want to track that as a credential, right? Whether it's in a summary way when you're done working on a project, right? What's the sum of this credential? Or in a way of using a prerequisite to be able to join that project in the first place. That's where the local state matters.
Got it. So as soon as I register, like when I say I'm registering in a course or interested in a course, the local state ends up going into the global state, correct?
The local state had to be registered in the first place. We had to have this reference right here. And two things happen. One, it says, okay, you're enrolled. This is not, and we should look closer at some examples, and we will. But the way it looks in my global state datum is different whether I am enrolled now or whether I was once enrolled.
Got it. Okay.
So this is the joining the local state step. My global datum now says, oh yeah, you're enrolled right now. That's ongoing current work. And when it's ongoing and current, this token right here is going to exist. Okay. All right. Well, if you have questions about these details, I'm not going to try to put words on the fly to these notes, right? But you can take a look and you can see how each of these is put together. This is the transaction where that local state is burned, right? So you can see right here, here it was minted. When I leave a local state, right, I graduate from a course and claim the credential, or I'm done working on a project and ready to move on. This right here burns the local state and once again updates my global state datum. When that local state token exists, now I can do some other things. Because I have a local state token, I can commit to an assignment. Or because I have a local state token, I can commit to a task and earn some rewards from a treasury. Once I'm no longer part of that course or that project, that local state token doesn't need to exist anymore. So it's burned, -1. But my global state does update. And that's what we mean by a credential. The end of this journey, I burn a local state, my work here is done, but I have a credential to take with me and use to access other local states. And this is why you have to unenroll in a course before you can use the credential required for a project, right? It doesn't exist until I've burned the local state token and I have that completed credential on my global state datum. Harsha.
So if I take the credential before doing the whole course completely and I want to go back and re-register, my semi-completed state is still like identified, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so I did modules 101 and 102. I left the course because I wanted to use those credentials to join some project. But then another project came along and says, well, we also need you to do module 103. I can join again. So, right, I have that deposit of enrolling again. I do module 103. I get that assignment. And now, once again, I can claim that. And now I have all 3 modules in my credential. Okay, I'll leave the rest for you to go through, and we can always refer back to this as a reference. I'm very excited when we get to a couple weeks from now and we really start learning about how to build our own local states. This transaction is going to be really important. And I think in the long run, this might be the most important transaction on Cardano, right? How do credential issuers register with this system? That's this transaction right here. But I think it'll be much more interesting to go through this transaction in the context of a real example once we start to design some of those new systems. Any questions before we move on this? All right. And if you just want to admire the work that Adrian's been leading for, depending on how you count, somewhere between 2 and 5 years, here's the list of all this work right here.
Hey, James, I have one more small question. So when you're referring to credential issuer, are you talking about like the project creators or the course creators?
Either one.
Either one, okay.
Yeah. Right. I think it's going to be easier for people to understand that a course credential is a credential to be issued, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can point to, okay, well, these are the learning targets on that credential. But a project produces a credential as well.
Mm-hmm.
What we decided to do after on V1, we experimented with keeping a record of every task somebody does in their project credential. We decided to simplify it because we realized that was just going to get really heavy Imagine if you know, how many tasks have each of us committed to on sustaining and maintaining Gimbal Labs, right? That would be a lot of information to store in global state. So what we decided to do in V2 of the project local state is just to have a summary number. How many tokens did you earn in this project, right?
Yep.
What this allows us to do is say, well, hey, if you've earned at least 100 ADA in sustain and maintain Gimbal Labs, you are qualified to join this project, okay? But also it can go the other way. Courses can have prerequisites just like projects can.
Yep.
So I could have, hey, to do this course, you need to have completed this module over here in this other course, and you need to have earned 100 ADA at Gimbal Labs. And if you have, you are welcome to join this advanced course and earn these more advanced credentials. And that's where the whole ecosystem of different types of prerequisites is going to start to get interesting in the years to come, right? What's sufficient for somebody to open up the doors and invite other contributors into a project? All right. But that's going to take us just about to the end of this session. You now have access to this repo and this audit report. It's going to start to grow over time. And I just want to do two more quick things just so we can have a little record of where we're starting today. First, let's jump back over here to Menti. Everybody, if you are already here, it should still be open. And if you can return to that browser, you'll now see a different question on the screen. If you don't know how to get here, give it a try. I'll drop this link in the chat. And this will take you directly to a quick question. And this is called a fist to 5, right? The numbers are 0 through 5 because that's how many fingers I have. A fist is 0 fingers, right? I could hold up 1 or 5 or any number in between. And let's just do a quick assessment. How are you doing at accessing the audit report in the Andamio Pioneers GitHub repo? Can you do it? Could you teach somebody else? I know, kind of a beach ball. All you have to do is click on a link, but just in case you have questions, this is our chance to keep track of that.
Love it.
These will get more challenging as we go along, of course, but this is just a little pattern that we're going to be holding to throughout this program. Excellent. Okay, we know how to click a link and get to GitHub. I think we're going to be fine. And if you don't have a chance to do this now, please be sure to drop in later, just so we have a little self-assessment here and we can gauge our progress over the course of these 10 weeks. All right. There's one more learning target that we have to cover today. So let's go like this for just a minute. Thanks for keeping the feedback rolling in. If I switch back to the course, the next lesson is about giving feedback. Feedback is going to be so important for all of us to make the most of this thing together. And as we start to build up shared context for working with different agents and making progress together, you know that data is the raw material for making any agent work well for us. And that's why we're going to collect feedback this way. Okay, so here's how to give feedback. Number one, you got to do what you already said you could do, right? Just make sure to navigate over to GitHub. And then anybody, since this is an open repo, anybody can view the issues, but to create a new issue, you'll have to log in, okay? And so that's why it says right here, actually, I think I only included that in the assignment. All right, before you start, make sure that you have a GitHub account. Once you're logged in, if you go to the repo homepage, you click on issues, like I did up here, And then once you're logged in, you click on New Issue. You'll be able to give feedback. And I think in this one, I am logged in. All right, so here's what it looks like. It's open-ended. You could put whatever title and description you want. But by collecting issues this way, we're going to give ourselves that raw material once again so that we can look for patterns, we can set priorities, we can decide what to do next. This will get more interesting as we start covering deeper and more hands-on material. But I really appreciate you taking the time to take a look at that audit. I hope that was enlightening, just because I know a lot of us have been talking about these tools for a long time, but to take that practical look at it before we dig into development work, I'm hoping that feels like a good place to start. But if you disagree, right, stop talking about the audit would be a great form of feedback. I came here to build stuff. There you go. You can give that kind of feedback and create an issue. I won't do that one. It'll just mud up. I need to give somebody else the chance to have issue number 1 on here. Okay, so that's your assignment for our first session. You can see the details right here. If you're not sure what to say, just answer any one of these questions or anything else you feel like sharing. And then when you're done writing that issue on GitHub, you'll be able to copy and paste the link into the evidence box below. I can't find it. Where is it? Well, I have to connect my wallet to do that. So if you already have an Andamio V2 token, what you'll be able to log in and you'll see where you can submit an assignment right here. But if you don't have an access token yet, or you don't know how assignments work, that's what we're going to cover next week. So session 2 next week, we're going to ask this question: what can I do with Andamio? And one of the things we'll have to do is make sure you know how to mint that access token. We'll go back and make sure you can complete that assignment if you haven't done it yet. And then things are going to start getting a bit more hands-on. We can talk about how to create a course, how to launch a project, and I think most importantly, how to create an API key and start building your own applications on top of these APIs. So that's what's upcoming. But if you do have any feedback to start, it's golden. And I can't wait to see what people think, what questions you have, what you're looking forward to doing. That's going to be all for today. But thanks for joining in. Any questions before we do a checkout round? All right, first session is always the hardest, y'all, because started. But I'm really excited to achieve escape velocity with all of you and really see where these conversations go. Hopefully this is the most I'll ever have to talk, because we can start handing off different explorations to everybody. But I appreciate you listening to me kind of stumble through the audit report today and try to explain it. Let's do a quick checkout round before we break. I'm going to pass it first to Nori. How are you leaving us today?
Really inspired. It's nice to see the audit and go through all the things we did to make sure that it's safe to use this. And then, yeah, just looking forward, I'm super excited to see what people do with this once they get it in their hands. We've graduated from platform into protocol, and yeah, the future of what people build with it is now unbounded. So that's super exciting to me.
To Lewis and then Newman.
Thank you, James. I wouldn't say the first lesson is the hardest. I'd say it's the most important one. It's like the first 5 minutes of a movie. If you miss the first 5 minutes, the whole movie will make sense, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that this is my first 5 minutes. I'm in my training arc now.
Be sure to send us a selfie with your page of notes, okay?
So let me show you. Hold on, let me turn on my camera here.
Thanks, partner.
Yep.
Newman and then Hardiga.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody. This is really good. I'm it's cool to see how we're building, differently. Like I love the GitHub centricness of it, and I love this sort of focus in on the solutions to problems. I think it's the fruition of a long journey with Andamio, and yeah, I'm stoked to earn a credential for giving some feedback and etc. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Here we go. Harsha and then Adrian.
I'm actually I really like this session, specifically the audit report, because I think it gives me a chance to look at Andamio as a protocol, stripping it off of the courses, projects. It's just like one manifestation of the Andamio protocol anyway. So now I get to look at the protocol and think of what other things it can do. So I really like it. Yeah.
Thanks, Harsha. Adrian and then Ahmed.
Good session. Thanks, James. Hopefully more to come.
Here we go. Ahmed and then Steve. Audit report breakdown is very clear. Excited for the possibilities. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ahmed, and really hope you come back. Steve and then Andrew.
Congratulations. I know it's been a long time coming to get to this point. I'm really excited for everybody. So thanks. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. Andrew and then Roberto.
Hey, yeah, great session. They really interest me, the Andamio smart contracts. They're really novel solutions. Definitely, something new. Yes, thanks for the session.
Thanks for being here. Roberto, then Sebastian.
Yeah, thanks, James. That was a really interesting walkthrough of the audit. It was really cool. Really clear. Thank you.
Thanks, partner. And Sebastian.
Amazing. Great job. Congrats, everybody. And thanks for coming. It's very important. Your involvement in this is fundamental, right? Technology is technology without people in it. Yep, thanks.
Let's go. And I can't, who else? We got Aomi. Hey, when did you sneak in?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm
Give it a
fine. I joined late. But well done, guys. It's good to see this. Just well done.
Excited. Does this time work for you? All right. And Jethro, how you checking out?
Hi, good evening. Thanks, James. This seems really wonderful. I joined late, so I didn't get more, but I got towards the end. I got what was being talked about. So I think this is awesome. Ready to explore. Yeah, really impressive stuff. Thanks, everyone.
Let's do it.
I do have a question though, but I don't know if this is I could ask that here. I don't know if your work can be transferred, like the asset and everything, your credentials. My wallet got compromised, so I created a new one. I don't know if everything that I have can be transferred to the new, or we will have to meet access and credentials and everything.
When your wallet got compromised, do you still have access to at least save the access token?
Yes, I still have the access tokens and everything there.
Okay, good. Yeah, just move that access token to your new wallet. And then we built a system so that all of your credentials will be transferred over to V2 and you'll still be able to use them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, nice. Thank you. Yeah, I'll try that. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Let me know if you get stuck.
Okay, all right, so.
I think we got everybody. Thanks for breaking new ground with us here today. You know we've been talking about launching this program for a long time, and it feels really good to be underway. Really excited what the next couple months hold, and that you're all part of it. So hope to see you next week. Thanks for joining us today. We'll put this one on YouTube, so if you were late, you can catch up. We can share this around with anybody else who might want to see it. and we'll keep building from here.